Hi, I'm Deano Handt and welcome to my video. 5 things you can do to improve your retail business today. Are you ready to get started? Let's go. Alright, I've started off by writing a couple down for you to kind of get things rolling. Item number 1, education. Now, what are we talking about education? I want to give you an example right away. I used to be the vice president of a national franchise, and part of my job was to communicate to the gentleman in charge of organic marketing. Now, this is about 5 or 6 years ago when no one really understood what was going on with organic marketing. We'd sit in these meetings and nobody could understand what he was talking about. So I bought myself a book on HTML code, and within 2 or 3 weeks, I kind of had a general understanding of how to write HTML code. Now, the purpose was not so I could write code. The purpose was so I could communicate to the organic marketing person and also hold him more accountable. So educate yourself on things that pertain to your particular retail business, okay? Advertising would be another one of those things. In the retail world, you need to understand how to buy the different types of medium. We've got radio, TV, print, internet, social media, all that stuff. You need to understand how each of them work and then how you can use them for yourself to get the best results. So educate yourself. Item number 2, step back. Now, this one might be one of the hardest things for you and me to do as business owners because we have an ego or we have pride in what we do. The problem with that pride sometimes is it blinds us to what's going on with our business. We don't see our business the way consumers see our business. Now, let me give you an example of that. I went into a weight loss store with my brother. Him and his wife had signed up for this program, and we were waiting to get the products that he had paid for. And I noticed on the floor, I saw a bunch of white plastic bags, you know, the grocery bags you can get when you go to the grocery store, but there's a whole bunch of them lined up on the floor against the wall. I also noticed there were all kinds of advertisements that were actually not framed or anything, but they were printed out advertisements that were taped right to the paint. Now, as a consumer sitting there, I'm thinking, taped signs to the wall, this is a temporary business. That's what was going on in my head. The other thought I had was food on the floor just didn't click. And usually healthy food is a little bit more expensive, right? So as a consumer, that didn't look right to me. Now, if you're going to measure and step back and take a look at your business the way consumers do, you need to step back and take a look at your staff as well. And here's a great example of that with one of the businesses we used to own. We had this great salesman. His average ticket was $400. No, wait, before I continue, I want to write a number down for you to think about. One in 26. He was a great salesman. His average ticket was about $400. He'd come in on Sundays. He worked Sundays, and I just happened to be there on a Sunday. And I see him come in with something in his hand rolled up in a ball. And he went in the back, and then he came back out in front, sat down and checked in, and thought I'd go out and say hi to him. And before I got there, about 2 or 3 feet away, I noticed this horrific odor. It smelled like a brewery. Well, now I realized what he had rolled up in his hand. It was his clothes. He had worked the previous day, then went out that night in that same outfit, and then came back into work on Sunday and smelled terrible. So, what does that have? Was that costing me any business? Well, let's go back to this number we were just talking about, 1 in 26. Did you know that for every one person that complains about, say, one of your employees, there are 26 other people that are thinking the same thing but don't say anything at all? So now in his case, I actually had more complaints. Let's say there was 3. We had 3 complaints about him. All right, 3 complaints. And I said for every one person that complains, there are how many? 26 that don't. So that's 27 total negative impressions. So 3 times 27, and his average ticket was $400. $400. So you can do the math. 3 times 27 times $400. His bad odor was costing my business potentially $28,000. Now here's another number you need to work into this equation. The number is 16. Did you know that for every one person that complains, there are 26, I just mentioned this, 26 other people that aren't going to say anything. They're thinking the same thing, they don't say anything. And those people will tell 16 of their friends. Now let's do the same thing, the same equation. He had 3 complaints times 27 negative impressions times 16 now times $400. That's a lot of money that I potentially was losing because of this one good employee. So is it worth it for me to step back and take a look at my employees the way consumers do? You bet it is. Is it worth it for you? Yes, it is. Let's go to item number 3. All right, if we're talking about our employees, let's talk about measuring our staff or our employees. You should be keeping track of everything your employees do. There are numbers out there. Most retail businesses use what are called key performance indicators. Now, if you do not know what your business's key performance indicators are, you're probably losing thousands of dollars every month. Key performance indicators are how you keep track of your employees. It's how you know what they're doing. It's kind of like sports. Let's take a running back in the NFL. They keep track of everything. The statistics will say how many times they carry the ball, how many times they drop the ball, how many times they catch the ball, how many touchdowns they get, and it seems like the better they have statistics, or the better statistics, the more they get paid, usually. Same thing with your employees. The better they perform, the more they should be paid. For those that don't perform, maybe it's time to get some new players. You need to measure your staff. Next, you need to measure advertising. Now, we talked a little bit about advertising and knowing how to buy advertising. You need to know how to measure advertising. You need to know what's working. If you're using TV, you're using radio, you're using print, you're using the internet, you need to know which of those are working and which of those are not working. And there's a real interesting and exciting way to measure all that information. They're called tracking numbers. And let me give you an example of a tracking number. Let's say the number is 1-800-CALL-DEANO. We have a tracking number. Now, let's say during this video I was running a number and it said 1-800-CALL-DEANO. Okay, that would be my tracking number. The tracking number is the number that consumers will see on the advertisements, and the advertising number goes to what's called, let's call it a hub. Now, the consumer doesn't know they're going through a hub, but it is. Your tracking number goes through a hub. The consumer expects to get to the store, and that's where they end up, is at the store. But the hub, the great thing about this hub, or we can call it a bank, or whatever we want to call it, is that's where all the information is stored. It'll tell you what ads the consumers are responding to, what time of the day they were responding, what they like and what they don't like, what's working and what's not working. So use tracking numbers, use tracking URLs to measure what is and isn't working. Now, I have one final item for you today. 5 things you could do to improve your retail business. The final item. Be different. Over the last 17, 18 years, I've visited with thousands of business owners, and I would sit down with them and ask them the big question, what makes you so unique, or what makes you different? And I would say 95% of them would say customer service. And if that's your answer, you need to think about it and maybe need to come up with something different. Unless customer service really is what you're different at. I'll give you an example of a business that had incredible customer service. Many years ago, you might not know this, but many years ago, grocery stores used to actually carry the groceries from the inside all the way out to your car. In fact, they used to bag the groceries and carry them out to your car. I worked at this one retail store, we did that, but not only did we carry groceries to your car, we also would carry groceries all the way to your house within 7 to 10 blocks. Now that's being different. Your business, you need to be different to be relevant in this business world. I encourage you to be different. My name is Deano Handt. Thank you for joining me today on this video. 5 things you can do to improve your retail business. I wish you the best of luck.